Secure the bag. Don't even blink, make them walk the plank. Light them up, let's make them sing. Fire the cannons, fire the cannons, fire the cannons. On Bucs, yeah, we on. Fire the cannons, fire the cannons, fire the cannons. The whole field's our red zone. Let me give you 55 reasons why this is our season. Palm trees breezing, opposing teams bleeding.
All right, welcome back to Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Buck What You Heard. Remember, you follow me, and you know I'll follow you back. I don't think I've missed anybody. There are a few bots out there, but they don't count. I'm talking about the real people, the real Bucs fans. You follow me, I'll follow you back. And I'm joined by my co-host, my man, KB, Ken Barrett, not to be mistaken for Shaq Barrett. How you doing, my friend?
Good. Just don't mix me up with Byron. That's my only ask.
There we go. And today we have a very special guest, and Josh Queipo, thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully I didn't butcher your name.
Close.
How are you doing, my friend?
I'm well, although I think I may be the guy who breaks your rule. I'm pretty sure I'm following you, but you're not following me.
Wait a minute. No. Hold on. We're getting to go look. We got to confirm this. He throws out the challenge flag. Oh, I am following you.
Oh, all right.
There's no roughing the passer then. We're good.
Okay, your challenge is overruled, my friend. Sorry.
I feel like we're in that Progressive commercial, which is some of the best TV out there right now.
Exactly.
I love that commercial. My favorite part was when you said, "Of course, I'm not going to forget the life jackets."
But that's what makes it fun, man. We need more commercials like that. I'm sick of pharmaceutical commercials, so I'll take an insurance commercial over pharmaceutical or gambling.
Yeah, Progressive's got some of the best advertisement in the game, so all their stuff's gold.
So you are a capologist with Pewter Report,
That's kind of how it started. I've segued into a few other things.
Your horizons.
Yeah. When I first started with them, I started back in February. So right as the free agency period was upon the Bucs and the rest of the NFL. I reached out to John Ledyard, who was with Pewter Report at the time, and just kind of said, it doesn't look like you have anybody on the team who's really
cap savvy.
Yeah. I mean, Scott Reynolds, who kind of runs the place, he's pretty good at it, but there are still some intricacies that sometimes he even has to say, well, wait a second, how does this work? And
Boyd Years being one of them, I'm guessing.
Scott's actually pretty good on Boyd Years.
Just easy.
No, I mean, the biggest one was like, there's this really kind of weird rule in there where if a guy signs like a veteran contract, he can't technically sign a new contract within the first year of that first one where any new money is given out. So you can absolutely restructure as long as you're not giving new money. So that came up with like on a possible Vita Vea extension to create some room. So anyway, I just reached out to them. I said, I'm one of those nerds who actually went and read the CBA
cover to cover, like it was a Harry Potter book. Everyone
exactly, yes, yeah. And so I'd love to be able to contribute. So they were gracious enough to bring me on the team. And anytime you get around John Ledyard, you just start getting really excited about watching tape. And so he kind of broke me into that, and I started watching draft prospects and created my own big board. And then after he exited Pewter Report over the summer, I was like, well, I'll just keep rolling with this. So I've been running tape since then, and I'm having a blast doing it.
Man, that's something I would love to sit down with you and just do film breakdown. I think that would be so cool. I'm still like, I want to say a beginner, but I still there are defenses I look at and I'm like, wait a minute, what is that? And during the speed of the game, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not like some other people that are just like die hard. But if I see I could see a cover 3 or cover 2 and I know what it is, and I can see when they're coming out of when they audible out of certain things. And the one thing that I've kind of learned about is looking at offensive linemen, looking at their feet. There's a lot of little things that you learn, but I'm always willing to learn more. I'm not a perfectionist, but I'm always wanting to learn more about it.
I'm in the same boat as you, and I would say very, very similar kind of arc, if you will, because I didn't play football. I didn't play in high school or anything like that. I've always enjoyed it,
Right.
In terms of watching it. And Ken and I, we met up a few weeks ago when I was visiting his neck of the woods, and I told him, really getting into like this level of it for me has only been in the last 12 to 18 months. So I think every person is on their own journey in terms of learning the nuance of the game. And I don't think there's really anybody out there who's got it all down. So we're all trying to learn as much as we can.
Yeah. I mean, Kingsbury, all of them, they start with a napkin. And then that's basically, and then you have, the Washington, you get the run and shoot. Like you have all these things that just like spurred out of nowhere. I was thankful enough to start with a pro style offense in high school. And then I went to a pro style offense in college. And then that's kind of where everything else just kind of hit me, because that was when, Chip Kelly was coming to the NFL. So like I watched college football. Yeah, sure. But like I was more of a pro guy. So when that started making its way to the NFL, and then in the past couple of years, especially, it's easy to learn offense. I think for a lot of people, defense, like to me, I've really gravitated to more the Brandon Staley, that's kind of a new, gap and a half system that, a lot of people aren't used to. People are just used to the 1 gap, 2 gap, but playing with these elite quarterbacks, too high, I've become a lot more of a fan. I used to love 8 in the box, getting creative with that. My college ran 4.25. So, used to having those extra DBs out there.
I grew up loving the cover 2. Right, because
Tampa.
So
that's predicated on getting home to the quarterback.
Will we ever see a defensive line ever that basically is like a Warren Sapp, Simeon Rice like duo like ever again?
Trying to think of
because I know the Rams don't want to pair anyone with Donald, because whoever just stands next to him just gets 10 sacks because Donald.
Well, you kind of had it in the playoffs last year with Von Miller. He leveled up after the trade.
Yeah,
so and talk about a resurgence of a career. 2 years ago we were talking about Von Miller probably being done.
Yeah, we looked at him. Oh, he's washed. The
injuries, and it added up, and age. But man, he's turned it on.
Yeah. So, if you're out here listening, I highly encourage you, don't look at where the ball's at. You want to look at the overall game. You want to look at plays away from the game. There's so much more to football than just following the ball. And I know a lot of people hedge their bets on Pro Football Focus, but tape don't lie. And I feel like Pro Football Focus is
You're saying the wrong words, Gene. This is a PFF guy at the bottom here.
But hear me out now. They work together, but I've seen a lot of people that say PFF is my Bible, and they don't believe what their eyes are showing them on tape, and they work together, and that's just kind of how I look at it, because there are intangibles. There are things that you see on film that you can't really put a statistic to, but that player has done a great job. So to me, I love Pro Football Focus. Shout out to Trevor Sikkema and that crew over there, and I love it. I'm subscribed to it, but at the end of the day, I would rather look at the film and watch the flow of the game, and I think I get more out of the film than I do the stats.
So, well, here's the thing: Pro Football Focus, those grades, they're film grades.
Okay,
that's the thing. Like
a -2 to 2 grade. So to give people just a little bit of context before Josh goes on a little bit more in depth, -2 means you did the worst possible you could possibly do on a play. 2 being, strip sack fumble. Like that's as good as it can be for like a defensive lineman, for instance. Like, so each play gets basically that kind of grade, and you get the accumulation. So when you see someone with like a 1 grade, usually it's happened before. I remember the Bucs played the Falcons, I think a year or 2 ago, and one of their offensive linemen had a 4.
2020. It was 2020, I think it was.
Yeah, so that's how they grade each individual play, and then they scale it to They're player grades, right?
Yeah,
and I
right.
think a lot of people, one of the things that really people struggle to understand, because everybody is so ingrained, when you see on a scale to 100, we go back to our school days, and you assume, if your parents were anything like mine, anything below a 90 was a fail, right?
Right.
So it's got to be 90 or above, or just that was a terrible player.
It's
And
compare you to your sister time. Yeah, I know what you
exactly. So then, but honestly, like for PFF, like mid 60s is considered a guy who had a solid game,
Mhm.
or is a solid grade for a season, right? And they do a pretty good job of color coding it. So mid 60s is kind of this greenish yellow color, which shows that they were pretty solid. You get in the 50s, now you're below average. 70s is above average. 80s, you're talking about somebody who's probably in the running for a Pro Bowl. 90s and above, your MVP chat.
Yeah.
Okay. Not many people have the wherewithal, the resources, or especially the time to go through and
32 teams
watch that many people. So
Right.
Pro Football Focus, in terms of like, you want to talk tape don't lie, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to give you a tape grade based on their evaluators. And my argument for Pro Football Focus,
As long as you don't say Pro Football Talk, do not confuse them.
No.
I will mute you.
My argument for PFF is always, I want you to point me to a better publicly available
there isn't one.
scale.
Well, NFL teams use it.
Right. Yeah, they do. Although I've seen some talk, like basically NFL teams love Pro Football Focus because they grade refs. Like that is the biggest thing that they want. Yeah, there was a really great article not too long ago.
I use a different app for the refs, because you look at, because there are apps out there for different officiating crews. By the way, I will give this game, the Atlanta referee crew, I will give them an F. And it's not, and I'm saying this because this is for both teams. This isn't, and you guys, and KB will tell you, I hate Atlanta. You know what? If Atlanta ended up moving to, somewhere else, Alabama or something like that, I would not have a problem with that. Just that's how much I dislike the Falcons.
Josh, he hates Atlanta more than New Orleans fans.
Yes.
They're real rivals.
Yes, I do not like them. But I will say this. I mean, when you take a step back and you look at that game was poorly officiated, and it concerns me with, what the refs are doing nowadays, how the refs are calling games. I mean, they're making calls that affect the game in a certain way. And, while we're talking about that, let's kind of segue into the game, the Atlanta Falcons Buccaneers game. And, I called KB after the game. I was,
which doesn't happen, everyone. I want that on the record. Gene, I'm usually the one who's spewing something on Twitter, and Gene will shoot me like, hey, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Gene called me, not DM, not text, called.
I was mad.
Off his chest,
I was actually mad about that game. The Bucs won. The Bucs are in first place in NFC South. Normal Gene's like, okay, good. We move forward and get ready for the next game. I was mad about that game. And you guys may crucify me for saying this. I would have loved to have seen the outcome without the referees involving themselves. It's like watching a wrestling match and the manager jumps in and gets his wrestler disqualified from the match. You never really see what happened, but that's a crude analogy.
Well, for me, I really would love to have seen what the defense would have done, and also what Atlanta's game plan was going to be, mainly because, I mean, Atlanta more so milked the entire second half clock than the Bucs did. And their two drives, I mean, I would need to see the exact time. I mean, they took probably at least 10 minutes in those two drives. That's what I'm saying. That's the only thing they could do. So if you only have, Grady Jarrett's sack came with, I think, like a little over 3 left.
Right.
Could they have gone 60, 70 yards in 3 minutes, 70% running the ball? I don't think they would have, but I think it would have been really intriguing to see how the defense was going to adjust. Let's say, is Mariota going to throw a deep bomb? And we know he's probably not, but Atlanta has to open up something if they get the ball back after the Grady Jarrett sack. It was a sack, excuse me. I'm thinking the Chiefs game where there was a fumble involved. No, Brady was just
Right.
sacked. So the Bucs are probably punting. They probably have to go 80 yards.
Right.
Yeah.
And my whole thing is, and I'll get to you in a second, Josh, is I want to see what this team does, how they respond to getting punched in the mouth like they were getting punched in the mouth. They get bailed out by a freaking referee. And again, would love to see his bank account.
I think it's like the Packers game where it's like rather than falling apart early the way that they did there for the first 2 drives, they just fell apart the last 2 drives. Whereas 3/4 of the game, they played almost near perfect in my eyes.
Yeah, I agree with that in terms of it. They were playing very well and then took their foot off the gas, which I'm sure is very frustrating.
Yeah, we're going to get into
Kevin White's comments.
Lord Byron's he's on notice.
If you're going to say you wish that the DP, or I'm sorry, the roughing the passer call was not, it was a no call because it should have been a no call, then okay, then where do we draw the line? Because there was the DPI before that, there was the phantom holding call a couple plays before that.
I wasn't phantom, by the way. There's a big difference. I just want this on the record. There's a big difference between illegal contact and holding. Just for the record out there, because the Atlanta DB did hold and did grab the jersey when Mike's, running this lane over the middle.
Sure.
But it wasn't illegal contact.
Fair.
Still 5 yards, automatic first down. At least that's my perspective.
I still think it was within.
They shouldn't call it though.
Yeah, it was within the scope of many other very similar plays.
That's
and then you go all the way back to the 4th and 1 that never should have even happened.
Oh my God, the K-Dot and miss.
Where you're talking about 3 points.
Spot.
Suck up from that automatic from that area. So the Bucs are going to pick up at least 3 points from the K-Dot and first down that wasn't a first down. So I don't think we ever get to that point. But even if you do get to that point, all right, you want to take a look at the Bucs defense and how they respond. In that situation, you figure Atlanta's going to start picking on a kid who's, playing his 17th, 18th snap on defense. I don't know how much you learn about the Bucs defense if Zion McCollum's now being picked on. So I don't know if I agree with that one. I can tell you it's a horrible crew. I remember Brett Coleman was tweeting out about how this crew was suspended from the playoffs last year because they were just that bad. So, and if you want, I'll get on a small little tirade. NFL refs, they do have accountability. Okay, they are graded by the NFL. That's how they get their assignments.
How are they impacted? How are they impacted by that grade?
Playoff assignments. So where they can earn more money. But the real thing that they need to do is they need to make them full-time employees, which they are not. They are not.
Jake Arians is a great talk. If anyone wants to go back and forth on Twitter or DM, he basically explained it to me as essentially before they signed their latest deal that they were basically every 2-3 years would negotiate.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially the NFL would just give them more money. And they didn't have to be full-time. So they just kept accepting the deals.
Right.
So does, in your opinion, I'm going to start with you, Josh. Does this kind of taint the shield? You know how, you hear Wrong Way Roger always talking about protect the shield. Knowing this, I mean, can you 100% say that, especially with legal sports betting? I mean, and I'm sorry, but it's not, to me, it's not a far gone conclusion considering what we saw with the NBA. There's no real super accountability. I understand not being able to officiate a playoff game, but at the end of the day, I mean, is that the end all be all? And I don't know. I just I question some of the calls at the time of the calls and how the calls affect the flow of a game, how the calls, can affect the game overall. And I have problems with that. I question some of the calls and when they occur. Because we look at Tom Brady and that stat that's gone around Bucs Twitter, Tom Brady has only gotten one roughing the passer penalty this year, one last year, I think. Is that correct? He's only had 30.
If you put him against
he's only had
32 QBs, he's like in the bottom third.
Right.
Yeah, he's only had 37 roughing the passer penalties out of 230 something games.
But keep in mind, Brady gets the ball out. It's like Drew Brees doesn't get
But Drew Brees
to
is
me,
right
roughing
there
the
with him.
passer penalties aren't.
There's like a four. There's like
Yeah.
a between four or five between Drew Brees and Tom Brady.
Yeah, Ken. Paul Atwell, I think, actually did a really great job of putting it in terms of how many times like he was hit, right?
Yeah.
So, and he's still very low.
Exactly.
And the win probability added, when you look at it over the course of all of those added up, still doesn't come out to be the narrative that many people believe, that he gets them in the high leverage situations. With that said, just like players are people and prone to fallibility,
Right.
we are people prone to fallibility.
Absolutely.
Refs are people. Yeah, refs are people prone to fallibility. So no reffing crew is ever going to be perfect.
Right.
You also can't have a robotic NFL referee.
It's not like baseball where you can exactly. Absolutely.
So based on what you're saying, can there be a level of consistency that
I think that they can strive for more? Yes, absolutely. And I think it starts with making them full-time crews where this is their livelihood, right? This is how they make their money. Therefore, they need to be better. I absolutely think that's the case. I also think that we need to allow them to throw flags based on intent, which they're not allowed to do right now. Right. So you have to be able to see, was this somebody purposefully trying to hurt the quarterback? Right?
Like a Vontaze Burfict.
Exactly. Right. So I think there's no Bucs fan alive that I have seen on Twitter that believes that should have been a roughing the passer call. Right.
So
no player does either. I think that's just as important. Like the defensive line wasn't happy post game either.
Joe Tryon-Shoyinka was interviewed today in the locker room, and he's like, I don't know. He's like, I have no clue.
You worry, and you have to concern yourself with getting fined for speaking against the refs. And there again, I would hope that the refs can, I'm going to give you an example. XFL. There's like so much transparency with XFL. Huh?
Sky Judge. That's what the XFL, that was the game changer.
Yeah, most definitely. Now I have to ask the question. Is there, and I watched XFL games and I walked away satisfied. I would say maybe one game, but that guy got fired. There was only one game that I watched where I was like, well, wait a minute. What are the refs doing? Are the refs involved? But I would feel more comfortable if there was more transparency. I know we're not going to see it, collective bargaining, and there's a lot of other things that are going on. I don't expect to see it. But I would feel so much more comfortable if there was a level of transparency, as far as the refs go and, what they're talking about, what they're discussing and how they come to the conclusions they do in some of the decisions they make.
I think out of all the things that we've discussed today, that is the one that is beyond the pale. There's no way, like the NFL is famous for lack of transparency. You see it in almost everything that they do, that there's little to no transparency. How is Dan Snyder still an owner? Like that's a lack of transparency is how.
That goes beyond my understanding, right? Jerry Jones is another one. I'd love to see his emails.
Well, I get what you're saying, but there hasn't been scandal like surrounding the Cowboys, right?
Right.
Absolutely been scandal surrounding.
Well, actually, didn't he have a scandal recently about an illegitimate child?
Yeah, but that's not the same. That's not.
Oh no, I'm just saying, like that's the only thing that's really come out about Jerry.
Yeah. So I think that what you're asking for there is probably like I said, beyond the pale, but you can strive for better. And I think it goes to the competition committee. They have to stop pretending quarterbacks are these fragile little eggs that are going to get cracked. That you got to start there. And then John Ledyard had an absolutely, like, I thought it was a fantastic take. He's like, I'm pretty sure the refs are just trolling the rules makers right now. He's like, if you look at it, they're like, hey, based on the fact that I'm not allowed to use intent to the letter of your rule, that's roughing the passer. I'm going to throw my flag. And they're kind of sticking it to the competition committee.
Well, think about it. It's similar to like an MLB referee calling the strike zone the way that they see it. I
Right,
mean, it
needs
doesn't
to-
necessarily
needs
have
to
to
letters.
match up to that, to that box that, ESPN or whatever stat or whatever they do to create what creates the
overlay.
perfect strike zone. Yeah,
Right.
the overlay. But one thing I would love, Josh, would love to get your even perspective here, since there's been a lot of baseball analogies and comparisons tonight.
No Yankees analogies. I saw
No,
your
no,
last
this is not a
week
Yankees. In
episode.
fact, I was
Well,
going to
last
throw.
week you talked about a straw that stirs the drink, and I don't like the Yankees, so nothing Yankee related.
I only say that about Godwin.
Okay, and let me
No,
Jane. Real quick. I've been a lifelong Yankees fan since I was 10, and this year I just switched over to the Rays.
Lifelong since I was 10. Sorry, I love that oxymoron.
You switched over to the Rays? You found the light?
I've actually, because in my mind I want the Rays to move to Tampa.
See, I root for the Rays, right? I mean,
how do you do that in the same division?
Billy Bean, A's, I love it. I love that brand. I hate what the Yankees do year over year.
I don't get how you can be a fan of two teams, not only in the same.
I wouldn't call myself a Rays fan, but I root for them, because they're my home team. I appreciate what they do. Again, roster building. The Yankees have wasted so many contracts. I hate Giancarlo Stanton more than I've ever hated any player of any sport. Just throwing that out there.
I respect what Cashman's been able to do.
I love Cash.
Well, over his decade, over his tenure.
He's a solid GM. He takes everything the small ball teams do, and he just says, "Okay, now let's do it with some money."
Exactly. No, but that's what I mean. There's so many things that I disagree with, like Stanton, Ellsbury, but we can do that another day. What I was basically getting to is there's times. I mean, I'm thinking of, it wasn't Verlander. It was that I think it was Rick Porcello. Was 1 out away from a perfect game. There was a play at first. Guy was clearly out. Umpire calls safe. After the game, he goes, "You know what? I made the wrong call." I haven't heard one referee.
I think that was Anibal Sanchez with the
Anibal
Tigers.
Sanchez. That's who it was.
Yeah.
I just remember a Detroit Lions picture. But what I'm saying is, after that game, and I've seen a couple instances where MLB umpires have come out and said, "Hey, I made a bad call."
Yeah.
I think there should be NFL referees should be allowed to say, "Hey, you know what? I made a bad call." It hasn't happened yet, though. That's the one thing I'm looking for. Is
Bert Emanuel. I mean, it's
Major League
all you're
Baseball
doing is twisting. You're twisting your knife.
Major League
make them
Baseball
full-time
umpires.
employees.
Yeah, they're full-time employees. They get protections that come with being a full-time employee. You're a part-time employee. You can't admit fault because then it's that much easier for them to get rid of you. David Villanueva, no thank you.
All right, let's talk about the game. I think we've talked too much about referees.
That's what I love about the show, man. It's we get a little bit off football. We were talking about baseball. We're getting back on. My whole thing is, I would love to see more transparency with the referees. That would if you.
But Josh just laid out. He completely discredited everything that I said. Or not discredited, but he laid out the exact point. So they're never going to, as long as they're.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. They won't,
and they'll never let us listen to those audios either.
But that was the beauty of the XFL, because you get to hear what this ref is saying in New York, and New York is saying to this ref, and you're like, "Oh."
But here we are spending 30 minutes on a podcast talking about it, though. So the NFL's still getting what
for the winning team.
Yeah, for the winning team too.
So let's kind of get back to that. So back to my original thought. I was pissed off that the Bucs won, but it's the way they won, and the Bucs are going to have to face Atlanta. I've talked with some Atlanta fans. I've got a few friends, Atlanta fans, and they hate the coach. They hate the GM. But I'm like, dude, if you had a legitimate quarterback outside of Jameis Mariota, I mean, you guys would be.
I think they're fun because they have Mariota. If I'm going to be honest, if they had Cordell Patterson and Kyle Pitts.
Yeah,
I mean, they've showed us they could be a decent little team there.
But again, the Bucs since 2010 have played down to their opponents.
You see that everywhere. You see that in I mean, that's the
Green Bay right
looking
now.
for.
Yeah, look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs lose to the Colts.
Yeah, the Chiefs. That actually is probably the best parallel for the Bucs versus the Falcons, because the Chiefs outplayed the Colts wire to wire. It was just some fluky stuff that they blew it. Right?
Well, one being just talking trash to a quarterback. Being,
right. Yeah.
Like penalty.
Yeah, Max Crosby can go helmet to helmet with Patrick Mahomes. That's not called, but Chris Jones.
Hey,
hurt
Brady had a
somebody's
bloody
feelings.
lip last year, if we all remember.
Yeah,
Or bloody chin, whatever it was.
But I think that that's a great parallel because I saw it on Twitter today. I'm trying to remember Arjun Menon, who used to be an intern at PFF, posted like basically on an EPA per play basis, what was the how well did your team do against your opponent this past week? And the Bucs had the biggest spread against the Falcons. They outplayed them on a play-to-play basis for, as you put it, Ken, 3.5 quarters, right? And even the half a quarter that the Falcons performed well isn't gonna redo that. It's just they took their foot off the gas. They decided we're gonna play softer coverage in the second half. And I think the Bucs were probably a little bit surprised that the Falcons came out on that last touchdown drive and they were just running and running and running. They were set up to stop the pass. The Falcons took advantage and they were able to run down the field. So it's frustrating. I get it. If you're a Bucs fan, I think that's this offense. It's not designed to be a.
It's not fan friendly.
That's for sure. It's not. It's going to go through peaks and valleys, right? Because it's so player driven. The scheme isn't designed to get you a ton of open looks and
tough throws for quarterbacks. Tough throws for quarterbacks. It's a
quarterback and wide receiver driven offense, and because of that, it's going to be streaky. You're going to see times like the first half where everything's just popping, and then you're going to see times like the second half where it's like 2 bad plays in a row. Now you're putting everything on the quarterback's arm for that third down. And if it doesn't connect, okay, you punted. And you can see that a couple drives in a row. It is absolutely frustrating for analysts. It's frustrating for fans. It's also produced one of the best offenses in the NFL over the last 3 years. So
I got to ask both of you with this, and you'll just give me your honest answer. Are you comfortable with what Byron Leftwich is putting out? And I'm going to start with you, Josh. Based on what you've seen, his body of work over these past 5 games, are you comfortable with the direction the Bucs are going? Do you see where they could be trending upward, or how do you feel about what you see based on the talent they have available? And you have to include injury as well.
Last week was fantastic. If you look at the way he called the game last week, it was a huge step up from anywhere in the first 4 games, right? I think in neutral situation, it may not have been neutral situations. I think just first down, it was like 15-5 pass to run, which was great. They took Scotty Miller, put him in mostly the Z role, and he wasn't running comebacks. He wasn't running hitches or curls. He can get bodied. They used him on the 989s, and they actually used him on a lot of deep digs, which was really cool to see because you didn't see that a whole lot previously. So
he kept his hands on his ball.
What's that?
He kept his hands on the ball. He made those catches.
So I love the way they use Scotty. I love the play calling overall. I think that's what you want to see going forward. And if Leftwich can continue to call like that, I've got no issues with him.
Can I talk about my one gripe? Because I agree with you, Josh, and I even tweeted out during the game that the only thing that I can really give Byron shit for that game was the no huddle 3-and-out passes when you're up 21-0. That's the only thing to me.
They went up tempo and like called conservative, which was a little
weird. That's the key word. They went conservative with their up tempo you're up 21-0. Just get first downs. You don't need to score 48. Just get some first downs. Like
I think what intrigues me the most is that Byron will start out slow in a year, and then he'll pick it up and he'll make adjustments, and they're off and running. The offense is off and running. Then the next year, it's like he hits a reset button. He starts slow, picks it up, and that's one of the things that I've noticed with Byron. And there's a lot of other things you can factor in there, but just as far as play calling, there will be times, and when we saw this, was it last year, where the Bucs didn't run the ball against the Saints, and everybody's like, "What are you guys doing?"
You're down 28-0.
Yeah. And we saw that again. We saw that again this year. There were times where they didn't run the ball, and then all of a sudden they run the ball, and then they don't pass. It's like there has to be some semblance of balance. And I want to welcome in Michael Pless from Real Bucs Talk. How you doing, my friend?
Hello there. Just wanted to say hi.
What's going on?
Doing his best young Han Solo impression. Hello.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. How's everyone doing?
Great, man. I'm gonna jump on in here.
Good. Good. You guys don't need me. You have the master on himself and Josh. So.
Oh no.
The capologist right here, man.
No, I would say my biggest gripe was on that 3 and out deep in their own zone. That was the one drive I was most frustrated because they started with a run. You do have to mix in first down runs, but get some momentum going, right? Like make it the second, the third, the fourth first down of the drive.
Don't make it predictable.
And then the other thing, and the one that drives me insane, is if you're going to call a screen to Lenny, you have got to scheme it up to where he's already underway vertically when he gets the ball. He's just not a stop starter. He does not have the juice. And they did a pretty good job of that throughout the game, save that one screen where he came to a full and complete stop. He got the ball, and then he lost yards. And that drives me crazy.
Yeah. Well, what drove me crazy, if we're going to stay on Lenny real quick, is his pass protection was as weak as I've probably ever seen it in this game. That was discouraging for me. Normally, he's a pretty good pass protector.
I'm happy with Rachaad White, though. I love what I'm seeing from this guy. I would love for him to get more time. Maybe that's the fan in me.
Yeah. Plus, I got to ask, are you going to be doing a Rachaad White breakdown? Because typically when I have an idea, you got it within
I literally just take the Real Bucs Talk and Pewter Report.
And you usually beat me. I beat you once, but you usually beat me. So I'm currently pulling the tape for one, and I just want to know, should I just shelve it and wait for your
No, you're good with Rachaad White. I was actually working on my boy Cade Otton, so
perfect.
Yeah,
I thought you would go with him.
Hey, and now fans everywhere get the best of the both worlds here.
Yeah.
To me, those are the two standouts from the game as a whole.
Yeah,
those are the two standouts. Was Otton being able to take on that full wide position, and I think he did great. I think he did fantastic. Yeah, White just got to get a little more confidence in the run game, but the pass game and the pass protecting, I'm not worried about him at all.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I loved. Somebody commented on Greg Otton Twitter post, and he said, "I think Otton should be our starting tight end." I'm like, okay, I'm with you. And he goes, and then Brake can just stay in to block and maybe catch a couple passes.
Are you trying to get somebody killed? What is
that?
Well,
that's to me the issue because if Brake's
on third down, and I'm like, wait, block?
if Brake's on, you're either passing or he's just not going to do well in the run game.
Right.
You take your pick.
What is this like? He's going to block for a junior varsity team for Plant or something? I mean, what are we talking about here?
Well, what's funny is I misread the tweet initially, so I thought he said block a little, and I was like, block a little person. That's about all he can block. And then I reread it. I was like, oh no, he just thinks he can block. Oh, buddy. We need to watch the same game sometime.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Pour me some of what you have there, buddy. And so we're all on the same page here.
I
just want to see more Keith doing Mike Evans impressions.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. I really did like the game that Byron called overall. I mean, you're never going to 100% agree with every call, but I definitely think it was a step in the right direction, especially the way Atlanta was playing the Bucs and the fact that Brady's willing to take all that underneath stuff that they were giving him. So, to Otton's benefit, to Rachaad White's benefit, and to Lenny's benefit, all three of them.
Well, to the fans' benefit, that was the best part about the team being healthy. My criticism is when the team wasn't healthy, you could have done a lot more to make things a little bit easier. But when the team's healthy, defenses are gonna respect it.
Yeah.
So if you can hit Lenny and Rachaad and Cade for 6-7 yards a pop, take it.
Yep.
And so, guys, I'm gonna go around the horn here a little bit. How do you feel about what Byron is calling, as far as game flow goes? What I struggled with was the fourth quarter and the 3 and outs where you're passing the ball and, the clock isn't still running. That's kind of a concern for me we are, we're way past preseason, and this is a team that should have made adjustments to some extent. And here you are, you have a team that you should be dominating, and you go 3-and-out, and there aren't a bunch of runs. You're like eliminating the run, and you're focused more on the pass. And that's kind of something I struggled with. And I'm just wondering, I'm going to start with you, Plus. When you look at this, is that a potential issue, or is that a level of concern that we should have?
I mean, my biggest thing with Byron is just keep it simple. He tries to make things harder than it needs to be. The play calling and the sequence, that's always, something that you can always look at 2020.
Right.
Especially you have, I think it was early in the first half, you have a drive where you have an opportunity to execute in the red zone, and they don't. They try a screen to Otten, it goes through his hands, a little high in the pass, and then you do another screen play to, I think it was Chris Godwin, doesn't get much, and then again it's a pass to Scotty, it comes up short. Think about going for it or whatever, and they don't. So I mean, yeah. It could be better, obviously, especially in that fourth quarter, the second half. There's a lot of 3-and-outs, and it goes back to how do you set things up to have easier execution? Like that's the biggest thing. Like don't make the execution harder than it needs to be. I put a post up about passing out of running formations more. Running the ball out of shotgun. Running the ball out of shotgun. I don't think it's been stopped this year. Not a lot. It hasn't been stopped, to my knowledge, especially
they only do it on third down, though. That's the only issue.
Well,
third and 4, or to me, it's Godwin's 3rd and 10. It's going to be a Godwin screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like that to me is like where there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
When you should be running those plays.
I'm just talking about just running the football. If you're going to run the ball on 1st and 10, be in shotgun and pull your guys and make it easier. Because every time they pull Shaq Mason, I think it's a positive play.
Yep.
And
that's also when Gedeke has looked his best.
Right.
Pulling on runs.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's my biggest issue with the play calling. Make it more simple. If it's a stack box, hey, let's maybe try play action, do a little RPO, do something where you have a better percentage of executing said play because you're making it easier for these guys. And then also, go to your best players, find ways to open up Mike. Chris Godwin did a great job of being isolated, and he did a great job getting open down the field. They had a nice 20-yard play to him.
Yep. That was the out and up, right?
Right. Exactly. So,
but there was mesh going on with that 2 in the middle, which allowed Godwin to sneak out.
And that's the thing of it. Like his concepts, there hasn't been issues with the concepts. The concepts have been very good, and I've been impressed with them. It's just, can he continue to understand what is working and continue to repeat that process? Because you don't have to change things up. Like there's a lot of things like I've seen that haven't been stopped yet. And
they go away from it.
Yeah, me and Josh talked about this against the Packers. Sail concept was working all day, man. And I don't think it's been stopped since the season has started. Every time they run it, especially with Scotty just being that, vertical decoy, and you run someone underneath him, it's wide open. Like you can continue to run that. Whoever you're playing coverage wise, there's certain things they can do to repeat it. And yes, the process was better against Atlanta. They did throw the ball more on 1st down. That was great. I love the up tempo. I love the no huddle. All those things are nice. So just continue to do that, and they'll build it. And again, getting these guys healthy, getting the chemistry down with the offensive line, understanding your weakness with Gedeke. Yes, me and Josh talk about this all the time. I've been higher on him, and he let me down this week. Again, he's been facing tough opponents.
Oh yeah.
He's got one more.
The last drive was I'll give it. I haven't given it to you in the text thread, but the last drive was a little bit better, and I don't even blame him for what ended up being the roughing the passer, because Grady Jarrett got all the way around Donovan on that one. That was a big ass loop.
Yeah.
To you guys' point, I think that when we look at this team overall, I mean, that's something that we need to see more consistency, and we're just not seeing it. I know a lot of people have questioned the offensive line. I think it's a matter of them getting more familiar with each other.
Four-fifths of the line's doing. I mean, when Donnie's healthy, and even when he's been out, Wells. I don't think Wells performed as well as his PFF grade may have shown, but Brandon Walton did pretty solid for what he had to do. Like 4/5 of the line has been good this year.
I'm comfortable.
Yeah, you can't expect the third string left tackle to do as well as Brandon Walton did. That was a revelation.
That's what I'm saying. So for the entire season, 4/5 has been serviceable.
Right.
The right side has been elite. And I think
I was gonna say center to right tackle has been no issue.
Hainsey has been what I just didn't think he would be able to come in and do what he has this quickly. I thought he would have a Hainsey up and down, if I'm just gonna be honest.
Yeah. And as he's progressed, I mean, beginning of the season, I would have said average with high variance. The variance is getting smaller week to week, and the overall level of play is elevating to where I'd say now he's an above average center, which is amazing when you consider that he may not have been a starter to begin the season if it weren't for Jensen's injury.
Right.
So do we think Jensen is coming back, or are we going to just wait on him for next year?
That's the great mystery.
Yeah,
I've never seen somebody with so much information.
They kept that under lock and key right there.
I've heard he hasn't been wearing a brace, at least when he's been noticed or seen out in public, but he's not doing football-related activities. So that's the big but. And also, what's wrong with his knee?
JC saw him.
You don't know what's torn.
JC Allen from Pewter Report, he saw him walking a week after, straight up walking.
But we haven't heard anything. We've heard, all these tests were going to come, and then all of a sudden, I mean, JC peppered him one press conference that I listened to. He had like 3 questions for Todd, and Todd didn't give him shit.
Yeah.
But JC did his due diligence, and I don't. They haven't given anyone anything on Jensen. I wouldn't.
JC's a bulldog.
Yeah, JCA. That's my guy right there, man.
The anti-Bill Belichick.
I think he studied the Belichick film in Boston, and when he came here, man, he just became what he is.
Yeah.
One of your commenters asked, I've heard Shaq Mason's name a lot. That's good, right? It should be. Anything you've heard about Shaq Mason this season should have been positive. He's played very well. He hasn't been the best lineman, but that's because Tristan Wirfs plays on a different plane of existence. But Mason's been very good.
Yeah, that's one of those when you hear the O-line. I mean, we're talking about Gadecki. When you hear Gadecki's name, generally not with the most positive things. When you've heard Mason has had a Pro Bowl call, maybe not all pro, blah 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 blah. He's had a Pro Bowl.
Can we look at Gadecki in the grand scheme of things and look at how much experience he has?
Well, can we see him play against someone average? Not literally 5 of the top 6 defensive tackles in the NFL.
And this has been murderer's row for
Well, he's got Cam Hayward coming up too. Cam Hayward is still playing at an elite level.
Power, a lot of power.
Thank God we don't have to worry about TJ Watt. Thank God.
We don't have to worry about TJ Watt. And my last point on just making execution easier, that's something you can do with your offensive line and making sure you're sliding protection which
also max protect,
which they have done. They've been sliding. Hainsey most of the time has usually been helping him. Or Donovan Smith sliding over. You're using your tight ends to, take on a defensive end. So that's why I say, you can make things easier if you do the right thing, set it up where it's a higher percentage of success, play action, doing max protection, quick passes, all those things come into play. And you can see that the execution go up tremendously. But the bonus that we saw last week is they were starting to take more shots down the field, which I think you're going to start seeing because defenses are going to, start to adjust, I think.
Yeah. I think the other thing that they could do to potentially help get a key out, and this isn't something that they can do a ton, but maybe 2 to 3 times a game, is use him on the trap pass. Yeah. Again, he works better on the move. You get him out of his,
usual
his
spot,
little phone book.
Yeah.
And you get him moving across where he can just lay out an edge rusher and, not have to worry about Exactly. So I'd love to see them use him a little
We
bit
used
more.
to do that. 2020, I think we ran a lot more trap passes. I think we've kind of gone away with it.
Yeah, I think I've only seen
this year.
I've only seen one this season, if I can remember. And
It used to be a pretty big staple. I remember middle of 2020, we ran that puppy to death, I felt like. And then the playoffs a little bit too.
And they weren't able to really stop it. I think until the Rams game, maybe.
Yeah, I think Sunday was the first time we actually saw over with the tight end, and that was Kate Otten going across the middle. Like those plays were consistent with Gronk, and that's something hopefully we continue to see more. Either the tight end or even just our receivers running over routes.
Look how good we're passing out of 3 tight end sets, boys.
Yeah. Again, making it easier.
It's coming. It's coming. It's getting ready to be a mainstay, I believe.
Yeah. So, but you don't see much play action right now, and even when you do, the linebackers aren't biting. I do think it's helping Brady with the pass protection. I think the line protects a little bit better on those play actions, and they've been able to hit deep, but you're not seeing a ton of bite from linebackers against it. And part of that, Brady's not selling it because he seems to want to get turned back around as quick as possible because he's seeing ghosts.
He also has a quick trigger finger this year as well. I think there's times where Byron and BA, they love long developing plays.
Sure.
And when, Plus is mentioning Sale, for instance, that ball's coming out before that, tight end or receiver breaks to the outside. Like, for better or for worse, I'd rather have a healthy Brady than not healthy Brady, going down the stretch. But that is something that's going on. I'm not saying Brady's an issue. The only thing I would probably say about Brady and Byron, they need to come out with a better script for games. Their script has not matched the way that you're supposed to come out when a defense is playing more on its heels, trying to adjust to whatever you're doing. Brady's involved in that.
Well, that's great. So we do have the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up, and I'm not real sure what to expect from Pittsburgh. And
may the best Kenny win is all I'm gonna say. May the best Kenny win.
I would say a very basic ass offense.
Yeah, but don't we have the history of making rookie QBs look like Peyton Manning, Danny Dimes out there?
Yeah, Danny Dimes. Yeah,
those rookie QBs didn't have Matt Canada calling plays.
Yeah, but you remember Mitch Trubisky? I mean, that guy, he survived for years.
He didn't survive Matt Canada.
Right. That's true. And their offensive line isn't it?
Their O-line's bad.
It's very porous.
It's not as bad as I expected, though. Like I expected, like bottom 4.
Well, the run
like
game is especially
10.
bad. If we struggle on run defense this week, I'm concerned.
I'm definitely concerned.
But the Bucs didn't struggle on run defense against Atlanta.
Right.
Well, but
you had. Let's take out Mariota, right? Because you're not going to expect that against the Steelers. Yeah. All right. So 24 carries for 90 yards. I think any defense will take that yards per carry. Now you take out 2 runs, a 17-yarder by Algier and a 22-yarder by Caleb Huntley, and now you're looking at 22 runs for like 51 yards.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's very good.
It's more of a bend don't break is what
it's my comment is more so the season just isn't up to their standards is all I'm saying.
Sure.
Like, you can't just say the team's going to be the number 1 and 2 rush defense every year for a 3-year stretch.
Well, but they've kind of
done that though. Yeah.
Well, but they've done everything to show you that they don't care about it as much.
And that to me is my best part. What I'm just saying though is if Najee goes for 100+ yards after he's been barely scratching the surface at 25.
Yeah.
That's a little concerning, but I'm saying like I'm happy with how Todd is adjusted this season.
Yes.
And I'm not I know the Chiefs game happened, but I'm throwing that game out the window. I don't think
there's any team in any other 31 teams out there that would have done what there was no way they were stopping him.
Yeah. Yeah,
Max Crosby by himself tried to. For half
that's a bad MF
half a game he was able to make it happen.
Right. Yeah, the run defense I'm not too worried about. It's
You
third
give
down.
up 100 yards in running and 180 in pat. Like the context is important,
Yeah.
and I
Right.
apologize.
Yeah, the only
for
offensive
cutting you
player
off
I'm
there,
worried
Chris.
about this game. I mean, I just made the thing about Najee just because I just hope we don't struggle in the run game because I mean it's a rookie quarterback, second game, first game at home. They're gonna make things probably a little bit easy for him, even though they just
Yeah.
have a bad scheme. But
Right.
George Pickens is the one guy that I'm a little bit concerned about because you give a rookie a 50-50 ball. George Pickens is showing he can go up and get it. And if we're going to be down a cornerback or two, if
Looks
for
like
instance,
just one.
What was that?
Just one, it looks like.
Oh, just one, which is
I think
Carlton's going to play.
Davis is going to play. Dean's going to play.
Because that was going to be my concern is if SMB's playing and it's Pickens against SMB, I'm concerned. But I don't have to worry about that now.
I'm actually more worried about Deontay than I am Pickens.
Yeah,
because
Johnson. Quick.
So drops a lot.
Well, you know what? He can go an entire game without doing that. He can go
death by 1,000
stretch.
paper cuts. I know.
Right.
That's what he offers to their offense.
He's an elite route runner. He can find holes. He can get separation. If their offense is going to succeed consistently, that's how they're going to do it. Pickens may hit you for a 40-yard bomb. Okay, that's fine.
I just envision this being a low-scoring game. That's where I am, where I think Pickens can make that touchdown grab or like that 50-yard gain that just changes momentum. You know what I mean? Like that's where I am.
But with the Bucs doing a lot more too high stuff, it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to do it. Now
if Mike Edwards doesn't play, though, I feel like if Mike Edwards does, I mean, he sat out today. We don't know for sure, but let's say he doesn't play. I mean, you're going to see a lot of Keanu Neal.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to play a little bit more single high, is my assumption. That's using Keanu Neal's
So how concerning is the Steelers wide receiver room for you guys?
Just went on third down. That's going to be the key. Third down and red zone defense. That's what I was going to talk about. Just I'm more concerned with those areas. That's where you have to be consistent, and that's what Todd Bowles' defense is all about. It's winning on third down and getting off the field.
Yeah, I'd like to see him press in third down more. Just after watching Pickett last week. Canada gave him a lot of quick reads. First read, he's going to the guy on an out very fast, so you can stop that with some press coverage. I thought Pickett actually played pretty well. Looking through the game for what was asked of him, they didn't ask a ton of him.
And you got to consider he really doesn't have a wide receiver room. I mean, Chase Claypool is a number 2 at best, maybe.
Chase Claypool is
he's their number 3, period.
And he is a number 4 at best.
Yeah.
He's a big slot who can't create separation, and he doesn't win contested catches that well.
Oh, never. And that's the one thing
which is crazy why BA wanted him so badly.
You can out physical him really easily, and you can actually take him out of plays. Yeah. And I've watched that in the last 2-3 weeks with him. There have been times where he should have been the dominant, and he wasn't.
It will be interesting him matched up against Winfield in the slot just because of the size disparity. I think really he's the biggest slot that Winfield's faced this year so far. Winfield lost once to Alan Lazard on a slot fade in Green Bay. I think that's the only thing I can remember where he went against
Aaron Rodgers on a fade. I'm not holding against any DB.
Right. So, but I do find the matchup to be very interesting. I think that'll be kind of fun to watch in terms of how does Winfield do against a guy that size.
Mm-hmm.
Must win though, because I mean, basically Carolina is going to be on pins and needles next week, so you got to come out with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they're bringing their A game. They don't have Baker.
Well, it's Kenny Pickett's first game at home too, so first road start is at Buffalo. Not exactly the place you want to begin your career, both as a defense and a stadium, because we know how crazy those fans are. So at home, I mean, the Bucs generally play better on the road, so that's one thing that's nice. But yeah, we got to be healthy. And one name we haven't really talked about is Pat Freiermuth. I think he's the red zone threat that Plus was mentioning earlier. If we're going to stop him in the red zone, don't let that man score, because we know the Bucs struggle with tight ends generally. Travis Kelce went for 4 touchdowns last week. I'm not saying he did that
Jesus,
against
I
us,
know,
but
man.
like, no. But the best part about that, Gene, it was like, was it like 20 something yards and 4 touchdowns?
25.
Yeah,
4 catches,
25 yards,
25 yards,
touchdowns.
all touchdowns.
That's
They
awesome.
literally did not target him without him
They didn't
scoring.
need to. That's the whole
Yeah,
thing. They didn't need to.
that's
No,
that's
guys,
efficiency.
I know we've kind of piecemealed this together, but Josh, I'm going to start with you. What are your keys for victory for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? And then KB, I'm going to go to you, and then I'm going to go to Ples.
I think the pass rush needs to win, right? They had their best game statistically of the season, so they pressured Mariota 14 times on 34 dropbacks. I think it was a 41% pressure rate this past week, highest of the season so far. So a continuation of that, because Atlanta doesn't have a great line, but it's still better than the Steelers. So if they can do that on defense, they will. Pickett didn't look like he was too frazzled, and he showed some pretty good pocket awareness, but I still think that if you're getting pressure on him at 40% or better, that's going to be a win for the defense. They're going to keep the things low scoring. And then on offense, the corners for the Steelers don't scare me at all. Like, lean into your receivers and get that initial game script, get up and then stay up. So really just kind of a continuation of the first half with Atlanta in terms of how they game scripted on offense.
Awesome. KB.
To me, offensively, score 20 points. If the Steelers score more than 20 against us, I think it would be a step back for our defense. I just don't see them scoring more than 20. So just get some points on the board, like Josh said. Do it early, and then ride that clock out. Defensively, Josh had alluded to the pass rush. That's where I was going to go. So one thing I will say defensively, 2 turnovers. Todd Bowles and BA in this era, when they get 2 turnovers on defense, that record's pretty good. You got a rookie quarterback, whether that's a fumble, whether that's an interception or 2, just get the ball. Brady will do work. I'm not concerned offensively or defensively, but help the offense a little bit. Get yourself off the field.
Yeah.
Ples.
Yeah, everything they said is correct. So, yeah.
What did we forget? 3rd down conversions on both sides. What else do you have left, Ples?
I don't have anything left. Just again, keep it simple, but be aggressive, and that's really that should be their motto. Keep it very simple, but be aggressive at the same time. And
do you think they're going to do that though, especially on defense? Plus, I wanted to pick your brain on this.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been hammering get home with 4 less stunts, stuff like that. It's a rookie quarterback,
right?
And it's not a great line. I just feel like Bowles is going to lean into his worst impulses, and you're going to see a bunch of fire zones. You're going to see a bunch of stunts. Like, that's I believe that's what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, I understand that. That's his identity. I mean,
right.
that's who he wants to be, and it's fine. Again, if you execute it and it's guys are in the right spot, but guys have to do their job. Like, guys have to be where they're supposed to be. That's the biggest thing for the defense. If a guy's not dropping to the zone where he is supposed to be, like, the play's going to fail. So, and it's guys winning their one-on-one matchups. So linebacker blitzing, he's got to win. He's got to beat the running back.
Devin White, please, just blitz, man. Just blitz.
Yeah. And
don't go rogue this weekend.
And that's where I go as far as being simple but being aggressive. So utilizing your players to their strengths is everything. And if Devin White, just let him play downhill, then do that. And same thing with like JTS. JTS is winning, guys. Like, he's winning his matchups when he's getting the opportunity to rush.
Don't listen to Bucs Twitter. JTS is winning his matchups.
I mean, he pulled off a beautiful spin move.
That was beautiful.
That was like chef kiss, like everything. It was just so good.
and he was setting the edge in the run game pretty damn well.
100%.
Yeah, he did. He had himself a solid game. I'm writing about him right now.
Yeah.
So for me, it's the wide receivers winning their matchups. I mean, you should be able to outfit physical this secondary. And
they're gonna run zone like we've never seen zone before.
Yeah,
though. That's
yeah. But I mean, when you look at you've got Mike Evans, You got Russell Gage, and we've talked about Chris Godwin and what Chris Godwin is doing, and then we even see somewhat of the reemergence of Scotty Miller. These should be opportunities where these guys should be winning their matchups, whether it's out physical or with the exception of Scotty Miller. But there should be a lot of opportunities for this wide receiver room to make some plays. I would love to see more of Rachaad White, whether it's in second or third down situations where even if you're putting the ball in his hands, speed and space, I think that you can really leverage him to really put pressure on that defense to, you could really do a lot of stuff with him at that point. So again, those are some of the things we haven't seen. And, consistency. If something's working, don't go away from it. Embrace it. But thank you.
To your point about the wide receivers winning their matchups, did you see the Steelers injury report today?
Just as long as ours, man.
Listen to this. Just the secondary. Cameron Sutton, hamstring, did not participate.
Yikes.
Akello Witherspoon, hamstring, did not participate. You'd swear it's a Bucs injury report with the hamstring. Levi Wallace, concussion, did not participate. Terrell Edmonds, concussion, full participant.
And then
Minka Fitzpatrick, knee, did not participate. So that's 4/5 of their
Wow, where are they getting secondary from? Labor ready?
Well, he might need to be a part of it because I'm trying to remember his name. Trey Norwood.
Yeah.
Trey Norwood did not have a good game last week. I saw a rep where he was doubling. It was Gabe Davis was one of his long ones. I think it might have been the 98-yarder. And I'm going to try and do it. So Trey Norwood's up here, right, as a high safety. And as the play develops, he just runs he runs straight across. Like there was no pursuit angle. There was no zone angle. He ran straight to where Gabe Davis was, and Davis was already behind the point, got the ball, and just took off. I was like, what are you doing?
Well, and then the game started off with the Bills. You fumble or you mess around in the opening kickoff. You start off at your own 2, so you're like, oh shit! And 2 plays later, you're up 7-0.
Yeah, on 3rd and 10. They set him up first, second down. It was on that 3rd and 10. But I couldn't believe it. I was like, who taught you to do that?
Yeah.
So if Trey Norwood is out there, please just
Brian stuff right there. Or
they're gonna have to get Mike Tomlin out there to play.
Yeah, they might have to.
Yeah,
they really might have.
He might be the best one.
He probably is.
Well, we saw it. Isn't he the coach who tripped the player?
Standard is the standard.
Yeah.
Wasn't he the coach who tripped a player in a game?
Not on purpose, but yes.
No, not on purpose, but
it was purely accidental.
I remember seeing him.
He saw himself on the video board.
That's exactly what it was.
That's how he
saw the jumbotron and he sees himself and he's like, "Oh shit, I gotta get out of the way."
All right.
No, it's fantastic.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. And Josh, you are now a friend of the show. You're always welcome on here. Thank you for jumping on. I know that you got a busy
crash the party.
Yeah, you're always breaking down film. I missed the deep voice plus, but
yeah, someone clip the New Orleans Jazz Michael Pless and send it to Josh for us.
Plus, how many nationalities are you working on at this
time? It's so many, man. It's so many. I'm trying to be.
You just gotta show me your passport collection.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Secret Agent Plus.
It's
licensed
very deep pockets. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So again, guys, thank you so much for checking us out. This is kind of what we do. I apologize for being late. Work comes
Gene
first.
closed a big deal, everyone. Give him a round of applause in the chat.
But
$10
anyway,
million man. That's all I'm gonna say.
So
that's what's up.
So next week we will be talking about this game. Josh, you are always welcome on the show. Shout out to you and Pewter Report. Shout out to Scott, your guy Scott, for we've had JCA Joshua Cole Allen on here before. He's another friend of the show. I appreciate that, man. I love your football IQ, and thank you for your perspective. Plus, as always, have all of your shows on rotation. I love when you release stuff. You know, I put it out there and I retweet it. There are a couple of people that if they put their podcast out or their stream, I'll retweet it. Plus is one, Cannon Fire, and of course JCA whenever he decides to do anything, I'll get that out there as well. You know, again, I there are certain things that I like, and you know, I think it's helpful. I would love to see, you know, football fans more educated about the overall game. And that's always my goal, is to see that, because the off season, I just want to leave. I hate the off season. I mean, people, you know, the off season, and now it's become the first 4 games of the season because everybody overreacts. Everybody. Well, not everybody, not you guys, but
You've been football starved. That's what it is.
exactly.
Oh man, we got to the end and I didn't even get to yell about special teams.
Okay, the floor is yours, my friend.
Camarda screwed the pooch last week and nobody noticed.
Yeah, we noticed.
Yeah, the 65-yarder that went for a touchback. McCollum was the left gunner, and he was bending right, which means it should have gone to the right.
Yeah.
And then it happened again later on the 28-yard return. He bent right, and the punt went left, and it gave him Avery all sorts of room. And then just a couple of short ones when he should have been going long. I was really excited about Camarda, and he has let me down all.
Well, I think Camarda, for a rookie, has done okay to me. He's had one punt a game that you basically just want to never think, you know, was even there. This game, I think.
Technically, he didn't have that this game until you looked a little bit deeper and you go, it could have been a lot worse.
I have to ask you, would you rather have a Bradley Pinion?
Oh God!
This year, Pinion's got a
please,
positive EPA per punt. This year, Pinion's out punted him.
Josh, just talk to Plus sometime about my opinions on Pinion. That's all I'm gonna say. He's had to sit through a game with me.
Was it last year with a hip injury?
It was the Saints game.
Yeah. So yeah, when he had a hip injury. Okay, you're gonna hold the injury against. You're gonna hold a hip injury against the guy who has to.
I hold more the kickoff out of bounds than I do his punting, but it's just like I just could predict whenever he was going to shank one. That was just my problem.
Well, you can't predict when Kamara's going to shank one.
So are you off?
But he's more fun. I don't know him yet.
What's that?
So are you totally off the Camarda train then?
No, unfortunately not, because I don't know how to disembark things like this, and I hold out hope well beyond when I'm supposed to. No, I want him to do better, especially given the resources they sank into him, a 4th-round pick.
Yeah.
Well, Josh was on the leaderboard, like, you know, with, you know, explaining why he should have been one of the first punters taken off the board. We don't mention who anymore because I will never say his name ever again.
Yeah, he's done some good pin deeps, like Camarda has, but he's got to put a full game together. And last week he didn't. And that the 65-yarder that went into the end zone, if it's on the right side, it's down inside the 10, even with the bounce.
Yeah.
So that's the unfortunate thing. When I went back and I saw that, I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" I sent it over to the guys at Punalytics, and I'm like, "Am I missing something?" They're like, "No, you fucked it up." Sorry about the language.
No,
you're fine.
You can say whatever the fuck you want to, man. I'm not monetized. I don't care.
So he did shitty, and then Jalen Darden had another solid game, and people will not let last year go.
No, they won't. No, they won't.
He's getting better. Getting better.
I like his decision making. I mean, that's one of the things that I've noticed, that he's decided, hey, this is where I'm going to run. This is where I'm going to run. He's not like dancing around.
He's always going to be a sideline guy. Like, he finds the sideline, but he finds a way to get up the sideline this year, which is fine. I mean, I think he had a 19-yard return or something like that. Up the sideline, he probably could have gotten just as much going up the middle, whatever. He got the yardage. You talk about decision making, though. Zion McCollum almost cost them on that fielded punt.
Yeah.
That was.
I thought that one Darden should have caught it, but
yeah, he could have rolled for the fair catch. I agree. So, but yeah, that was scary when McCollum just all of a sudden he's like, and the Falcons pounced. So.
Yeah. So, real
Zach
quick,
Schreiner and Ryan Suckup. God bless you both.
Yes.
you know, I'm Team Suckup. You've already known this. Yeah, I do. I am part of the.
Just when he's not playing the Lions, that's the only team.
Yeah, that's the only problem. It was
And Camarda's been a perfectly serviceable holder.
Hold it.
Yeah. No problem there.
Arguably better than Pinion.
Well, guys,
I don't think anybody's going to argue with you about that particular thing, but I'm glad to know you hold out a candle for the argument.
And it's funny because Brian Anger, who's done okay in Dallas too, like I feel like him and Pinion are just like kind of in that same boat. Like they have the legs, they have
they're
everything
victims of
that
circumstance.
could be perfect, but then it's just like something was just didn't work with either of them.
Is Anger in Dallas or is he in Houston?
He's in Dallas.
Yeah, I thought he was punting for Dallas. Because I watched.
Might be Houston now. I think Josh is.
Oh, did he change again? No, he's on the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, he is? Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. Houston punter.
At one point, I thought he was in Houston.
Yeah.
I think he was. I think he might have gone to Dallas.
Yeah. But
it's Brett Hartman who's the Texans punter.
But to Josh's point, I mean, Camarda needs a full game, and same thing with Gedeke. That's what we're waiting on. We want to see them.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. we want to see both of them play a full game. So
Sure.
No, who you want to see? I want to see play a full game. Tom Brady. He needs the stem skin. There's someone out there.
I'm going to drag this out. And I think you might have mentioned it earlier as the shoulder injury. I haven't seen him underthrow a deep ball very much. And he underthrew Scotty.
And it all happened because we went fucking empty. Thank you, Byron. I just hate empty. I just really hate it because your offensive line generally doesn't have a chance. Think about it. When teams even go empty and go 5 wide and even face
you
three
stress
rushers,
the
somehow the defensive line wins that matchup. I can't explain it.
There are times and places we probably do it a little too much. I'll give you.
Yeah.
I think 1st and 10 is not the time to do it.
Yeah, right.
Especially after you just got a turnover and then you give a turnover back.
But again, it depends on the flow of the game too, though. Wouldn't you guys say?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we do empty fairly well because usually we motion into the backfield. So I don't mind setting up that look and then you motion someone into the backfield. But I get it. Empty. That's a positive. No motion.
We did motion a lot more in the Atlanta game.
We need 20 personnel. That's what we need.
I like the 20 personnel.
Gotta use it.
They got Lenny on that was a big screen out of 20, if I remember right.
It was a perfect call.
Yep. You know why? Because Lenny was already moving when he got the ball.
Exactly. But you fake the run to the left and throw it back to the right. I mean, they did that actually twice. They did with Godwin, same play on the screen where he got to the 1. It's just that's what I'm talking about. Make it simple on these guys, and you have a higher percentage.
Godwin, Evans, and then just throw like Scotty or Perriman or whoever, Gage, whatever you want. Yeah. Like,
hold on, did you just start reciting receivers in a specific order?
I did notice that. Did you do that on
purpose? So is it going to be Evans, Godwin, Perryman, Jones, or is it going to be
No, Jones Evans? Doesn't exist to me. Jones doesn't exist.
Plus, I don't think he's picking it up.
No,
I don't think he knows what I'm referencing.
I have no idea.
Have you seen any tweets about our wide receiver order recently?
Oh, fuck you. Gene, you have no idea what we're talking about. Hey, is it the guy who says, "Is this person practicing?"
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. As long as I got it now.
They're all playing.
Inside jokes. I like to be part of them, guys.
Hope to be a part of one.
Yeah, someday.
All right, I gotta put my kids to bed.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for checking us out. Had a lot of fun. Josh, you're a friend of the show. You're always welcome on. Hopefully you won't not come on again. We have a good time there, but you're always welcome on here.
Yeah, I'd love to do it, guys.
Plus, thank you so much for coming on. As usual, I appreciate your expertise. And KB, you always, add what needs to get added to the show. So thank you guys all.
Gene, are we good for tonight? Sorry, keep going. I'm
We're
done.
afraid for tonight, man. You already know. But anyway, we're gonna get out of here. Go Bucks. Bucks. I'm not calling any scores or anything like that, so don't ask it.
Oh, we don't do that on this
We
show,
don't do that,
Kippo. Ever since
And
we
everybody pray
we were
for my
picking in 2020, and then all of a sudden, my first year with Gene, and then all of a sudden we went on that losing streak. You know, we went on 10 straight, won the Super Bowl. We decided we're never going to call a game again.
Exactly.
Ah,
And
Well, I have to
everybody pray for my pick'em league because I'm struggling.
well, I have to hold my prediction until Friday so people can read it. I can get the clicks I need.
On where, Josh? Where can they find it?
Yeah,
On
where?
pewterreport.com. I am currently 3-1 on this, or 4-1 on the season in terms of predictions. So
Oh yeah,
the boys doing pretty good so far.
I've got a source now. I think I've got it in.
There you go.
think I've got it in.
There
Yeah.
you go.
All right. Wes,
All right,
what
we
you got
actually
coming up
don't like
next, man?
Not much next. Just more Kate Otten because he's my favorite person in the world and he's tight end 1. So yeah.
Tight end, you baby.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, we're out of here. Everybody have a good night, and be sure to check us out next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. You never know who you'll see. And